You're listening to the Martin Clinic Wellness Podcast. This is the show where we bring you the best tips, tricks, and nutritional hacks to help you and your family get healthier. You will also hear what works and doesn't work, so you don't have to waste your time and money. All right, let's get started. Hello, my name is Dr. Tony Martin Jr. of the Martin Clinic, and I'm here with my dad, Dr. Tony Martin Sr., also of the Martin Clinic. And on today's episode, we want to talk about something that can get us quite worked up. So we're going to do our best today to not go off the rails too much, because it's a topic that, you know, I don't think there's a bigger mismanagement. I can't think of one in medicine than the whole concept of cholesterol and heart disease. So that's what we're going to talk about today. And really, I saw recently a presentation from a Dr. Bowen who, is well known when it comes to these matters, and it got me fired up again. So that's why I figured let's just do an episode on cholesterol. Let's get it over with. We get asked about this all the time. So let's just talk a little bit about this. Now, this is a quite extensive topic, so we're going to do, really some Coles Notes versions of it, some overarching thoughts and a few things like that. And, maybe in the future we can get a little bit more detailed on a few of these topics. But to start off the episode, I just want to read you a quote, and it really kind of will set the stage for the way we're going to approach this. And this is a quote from a fellow by the name of Upton Sinclair. And this is a well-known quote, but this is one of the things he said. And he said, "It is difficult to get a man to understand something when his salary depends upon his not understanding it." And that's really what we're talking about here when it comes to how is it. We're filming this here in October of 2016. So whenever you're listening to this, how is it in October of 2016, with all the science and research showing there's no connection, and we're going to get into this, whatsoever, between cholesterol and heart disease, is it still being medicated?
Yeah.
It makes no sense.
Not just medicated, over-medicated.
Over-medicated.
Yeah. Like almost number one on the hit parade of all sales of all drugs. You're not talking $1 million. You're talking billions and billions and billions of dollar industry on a lie.
It's crazy that we are still to this day talking with patients every single day in our clinic, via email, on their doctor has them on statins, and they don't feel good, and, what should they do? So I can't get over that, even though the science is pretty clear on the issue. Anyways, we'll get into that. But again, we can just go forever on this issue. It drives us crazy. But like the quote says, there is a lot of dollar figured into people not understanding this, because it will shut down an industry. A whole industry has been built around this, from pharmaceuticals to foods. Right? Foods for how long? Low cholesterol food, low saturated fat, low this, low that.
Yeah.
Right?
Low fat.
So, a whole industry was made from this after. The little, we've said this before in previous episodes of podcasts, but remember the Heart Association used to put a check mark on the food, and we were glad they did, because when they gave it a check mark, it meant don't eat it. Right? Yeah. When they checked the food off, it's like stay away. So they actually did everybody a favor.
If you got a heart on the box, you're going to have a heart attack.
Yeah, don't eat. They just told you what foods not to eat, right? Yeah. Here's a high grain, high sugar cereal. Got a check mark on it. Thanks, heart. Yeah. Whenever I saw the heart on the box, I always knew, okay, good. If I eat that, it's going to give me a heart attack. Yeah. So thank you very much. We thank him for that, right? So, but that's how crazy it had gotten for a while, was that whole idea, right? So, anyways, there are a few facts that we're going to just get out of the way right off the bat. All right, here are a few facts here. First of all, and this is again from the presentation that I saw earlier, and I wrote these down because I found them interesting. And, we've known this, but I just want to get this crystal clear. Here we go. First of all, high cholesterol and heart disease are not the same thing. Because somebody has high cholesterol.
That's a good thing.
Yeah. Well, and in fact, it's funny because, when somebody comes in and says they got a cholesterol number that's low, we always think, oh, it's too bad.
Yeah, you're going to die soon.
You're going to die quicker than you should, right?
You know that commercial? I just get such a kick. It's an American one because I don't think they can do it in Canada. But the fireman is coming down the pole. He's overweight or whatever. He gives everybody, all the other firefighters around, he got his cholesterol numbers down, right? He said, I got my cholesterol numbers down with Crestor, right? And he's giving everybody a high five. And all I'm thinking of,
he's gonna die.
He'll be dead in a week.
Or he'll have dementia or Alzheimer's.
Okay.
Yeah, anyways, I mean, it is thing. But it's important to understand that they're not the same thing. High cholesterol and heart disease are not the same thing. In our head, the marketing message has made us think of heart disease and high cholesterol as the same thing. They're not. They're two separate things altogether.
Yeah.
That's the first thing. The second thing is that cholesterol does not cause heart disease. Science, research, meta-analysis have shown cholesterol does not cause heart disease. So not only is cholesterol and heart disease not the same thing, cholesterol does not cause heart disease. Fact. Secondly, cholesterol is not even a good prediction of heart disease. Yeah. Research is clear on that. It's not a good indication. High cholesterol means nothing. It's not heart disease. It's not associated with cardiovascular disease, and it's not a good predictor of cardiovascular disease. That is a fact. And you see, the problem really started back a while ago, right? Ansel Keys and all that stuff. Yeah. The problem started a while ago. And what they did, and it's interesting, is what they did is they had they associated cholesterol, right? Well, first they associated saturated fat with cholesterol, because if you eat a lot of saturated fat, your cholesterol levels do go up, and that's a good thing. And right? So they said saturated fat, cholesterol, heart disease. There's no link. And the research has shown it. Yeah. There's no such thing as artery clogging saturated fats.
Well, what's the truth got to do with with a good story, right?
Well, yeah. And in fact, at the same time as Ansel Keys was talking about this whole idea of low-fat diets and saturated fat intake correlated with, and which was, he fudged, I mean, not that he fudged numbers, he just didn't show all the numbers, right? At the same time, there was another doctor who was talking about, no, the numbers make it clear. It's actually sugar intake. So even back then, they were talking about, this guy here was talking about
the 50s and in the 60s, right?
Yeah. And you know what's funny is that Dr. Bowen actually kind of gave the analogy of Betamax versus VHS, right? Everybody in the industry knew Betamax was better because they still use it to this day. Studios still use Betamax right? It's VHS is long gone. But it was VHS against Betamax, and we all know who won that battle. Everybody had a VHS player in their house, right? Betamax lost. It was sugar versus saturated fat. Sugar lost. And the reason why it lost is because you can take, right? All of a sudden, they found cholesterol.
Statin drugs.
And then, boom, pharmaceutical says, okay, we can deal with cholesterol. We can't deal with heart disease. We're not going to lower the incidence of heart disease because,
they're not trying to.
No, but we'll lower cholesterol. So they jumped on board. Food companies jumped on board because now they can make a whole new, they got a whole new product lines now, right? Low fat. That's fantastic.
Low fat crackers.
Low fat everything.
Low fat everything. We took the fat out of it.
Yeah. Low saturated fat. Now, finally, just recently, science has shown that the amount of cholesterol eaten food does not impact blood cholesterol. So, forever that was a great thing. Look at Twizzlers. Twizzlers were low-fat, low-cholesterol foods. That's how it was on the bag.
Yeah.
Right? So, it goes to show you how silly, but people bought into it. It's a better choice. It's better. Eggs were bad. They had cholesterol. But Twizzlers, they're low-fat, and they had no cholesterol. So, it's so stupid. Yeah. But that's the reality. That's what happened. So you had the food companies. You had the
Big Pharma.
They jumped on board, and they ran that thing for, it's been running for 40, 50 years. But it's starting to die. But it's dying a slow death. And the reason is because people are still getting prescribed statin drug after statin drug after statin drug. Your cholesterol's high, your cholesterol's high, your cholesterol's high.
Well, you talk to a cardiologist, and I get my patients to ask questions, right? Like, Doc, my cholesterol is normal. I had a heart attack. Why are you putting me on statin drugs? Right? Why? Like, I try and get them involved, like, not to disrespect their doctor,
but
to ask questions, right? And the doctor said, well, that's what we do. Like, it's almost like I'm going to give you a vitamin to lower your cholesterol. Yeah, but doc, my cholesterol was normal. It obviously didn't cause my heart attack. And that's why. What is it? What's the stats?
Well, that was a big study that was done, and the study, it was one of the earlier ones to show that, again, cholesterol and heart disease are not the same, and cholesterol is a terrible indicator, because this study specifically showed that 50% of the people coming in with a heart attack had normal cholesterol levels. That's that's terrible odds. You can't say that it's connected when half the people half have it, half don't. Well, half may have had blue eyes.
Yeah,
I mean, it makes no sense. Even the famous nurses study that went on forever, that had some of the dumbest correlations ever come out of that study. Even that says in there that cholesterol and heart disease, it's poorly correlated even, right? So it doesn't make any sense. So that was a big one that was done. And then the Journal of American Medical Association did a big study as well a while ago, and they basically concluded that there was a complete lack of association between cholesterol and coronary heart disease. I mean, again, we can't state this enough. Cholesterol and heart disease are not the same thing. They're not the same thing. Treating cholesterol like it's a disease does nothing to lower your risk of heart disease. They've manufactured a whole. They've turned cholesterol into a disease, into a bad guy.
Yeah. It's like blaming the police because they're at the crime scene. They're not the bad guys.
Well, it's like, if firemen are at the scene of fires, therefore firemen cause fires.
No, they don't.
No, they're just there. Yeah, it's a frustrating thing because, I read a study done that was just published, I want to say maybe 2 weeks ago, talking about how it's pretty much 1 in 3 people on statin drugs get side effects of one way or the other. And there are many, and you see them, you talk to them, we get emails from them. They are very, very sore.
Yeah.
They're very tired. Their brains don't work as well.
Yeah, real cognitive
all
issues.
Because they're treating the disease of high cholesterol.
Well, do you know that the diabetic, now the edict that has gone out for diabetics is diabetics should be put on a statin drug as a prevention. So the pharma pushed the doctors so much that, I have a lot of good doctor friends, right? And I asked them, why do you do that?
It's the standard of care. They have to.
Yeah, it's the standard of care. But when you really get them to think, they go, I don't know why I do that. I just do it. Yeah, that's not a good answer.
No,
that's not a good answer. Why do you do it? Well, it's because that's what I do. Well, that's not a good answer. Isn't there a better alternative to what you're just talking about?
Really poor type 2 diabetics. Because look what's happened since the beginning of the summer, right? A study was published in July that shows that insulin, the gold standard care of diabetes, has zero clinical benefit
for mortality
of any of the diabetes. It doesn't help with any of them long term in any way whatsoever.
Imagine.
So you become a type 2 diabetic, eventually you end up on insulin, and that insulin has been shown by a meta-analysis, the gold standard of research, to show that it has no benefit whatsoever on any clinical outcome in a diabetic, right? So that's the first thing. But we know what happens once you start getting on insulin. That speeds it up. Insulin becomes jet fuel for a diabetic. Yeah. Things get worse fast, right? Once they gain more weight, their kidneys shut down, they lose their legs. It's just it's crazy.
Yeah,
That's the standard. Yeah. So here you're a diabetic, you're getting insulin, And then the standard of care is, hey, let's give you a drug that's also going to most likely make you pretty sore. And it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't. I mean, is there a disease that gets punted more than type 2 diabetes? I mean, yeah, it's such an industry as well, right? I mean, you get
huge.
I'm sure somewhere, every time, I grew up watching Seinfeld. I love Seinfeld, right? The shows are funny. And there was an episode where, George's dad is, sets up a home computer sales. He's selling computers. And he has a table in his garage, and they're making phone calls. And every time they sell a computer, they ring the bell, right? Like, yeah, we got another sale. They ring the bell. And it turns out that the guy just liked ring the bell, so he was making it up, and he wasn't selling any computers. But that's the side story. But I always picture somewhere that there's an executive somewhere. Every time somebody gets diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, he's ringing the bell, ting, because it's just money. I mean, it's equipment, it's testing, it's drugs,
You got to check your blood sugar eat whatever you want though, and take insulin.
It is. So I just picture an executive somewhere just ringing a bell all the time, like ding, another one, right? He gets the live feed on his computer now in real time diagnosis, right? It's like, there we go. Yeah. If 10 people get diagnosed today with diabetes, we're going to meet our budget.
And where are we now? Really, CDC is saying it. 1 out of 2. You're diabetic or pre-diabetic.
So I mean, you feel bad for they get bad advice, they get bad drugs. I mean, from start to finish.
Yeah.
They go see a dietitian who tells them to eat the things that got them in there in the first place. If you read our newsletters, we talked about the head of the American Diabetic Association saying eat a brownie instead of a banana because they're both carbs. If you want a brownie, eat it. If you are diabetic, don't eat a brownie.
Don't eat the brownie.
Man. Yeah, anyways, you can see
we get frustrated because folks think about what we're saying here today. Look, there's good medicine. There really is, right? I mean, you get in a car accident, you don't want to come and see me. You want emergency medicine at its best, antibiotics that can save your life if you got a serious infection, blah, blah, blah. We're not talking about that. We're talking about an industry that has been created that is, hedge fund, it would be better. This is a pyramid scheme of Bernie, was his last name Madoff?
Yeah.
Bernie Madoff or Madoff or whatever he was called. I mean, he couldn't dream up something that would be as good as this. And the dollars just keep on rolling. Because they've taken the medical profession and they've hoodwinked them. And they said, this is what it is. It's the standard of care, right? And actually, if you don't
that's the problem. And anything happens, they go through the doctor's notes, and they're like, well, you didn't follow the standard of care. Yeah. The standard of care says you had to give them statin drugs, even though it had no impact whatsoever, but they get in trouble. So once it becomes the standard of care, they have to follow it.
And then 1 out of 2, what was the statistic about getting diabetes?
As a female. Yeah,
first of all, 50%.
Go look up go Google Cochrane. Just literally Google Cochrane and cholesterol, and you will see they did an extensive, through all the research, and they found basically if you're a female, there's no scientific evidence whatsoever that cholesterol medication does anything for you at all. Plus, it increases your chance of diabetes through the roof.
50%.
It's insane.
It's almost 50. I think it's 40.
And how many women do you know that are taking statin drugs?
Unbelievable. And then they get scared because the doctor will say, well, look, do you want to die of a heart attack? Yeah, I mean, really.
Oh, yeah, no.
You want to have a heart attack?
We get that in emails.
Don't listen to me, right?
Yeah.
So it's hard, and I understand that. People don't have, they're not a doctor, so they think, okay, my doctor, I don't want to lose my doctor.
It's the ultimate thing. Do you want to die? Oh, we found high cholesterol. I recommend a statin. Well, I'm not sure about statins. Do you want to die? I mean, that's powerful.
Yeah, it's powerful. And I get you see it, but the emails I get are people, and they want to discuss. They send me their numbers, right, on cholesterol, and I go, well, who cares?
I know,
right? And I hate to be
because let's talk about that now. And that's you bring up a good point, right? You bring up a good point about numbers. Triglycerides. much better number than...
Yeah. I always ask my patients, get your triglyceride.
I don't care about your cholesterol numbers. What's your triglyceride numbers?
What's your triglyceride numbers, right? What? Because my doctor didn't tell me what they were. I said, well, you can find out what they are, right? Because that's really, really, and this is going back to just good science, good biochemistry. Like, what is a real big factor in heart disease is triglycerides, blood fats, right? Blood fats. And what were you saying even last week about lowering triglyceride? Just happens every time. 100%. You want to lower your triglycerides, lower your...
Yeah, carbohydrate intake.
There you go.
I mean, triglycerides is something that we use in our office as a good indication of somebody's carbohydrate tolerance, right? Now, let's briefly talk, and, we're just at the end of the episode now, so let's just quickly talk about the actual causes of heart disease rather than what, drug companies would like you to think it is. First of all, even back then, they knew that sugar correlated a lot more with, right? You want to have heart disease, consume a lot of sugar.
You know what surprises me? I saw it again this morning, is how many people have a soft drink a day.
Yeah, it's always, it is, yeah.
It's almost shocking.
Yeah.
Like, it's just because I'm so... so used to being with people. Like, if you don't do anything else, cut sugar out of your diet. Like, if you just did that, you know how many patients
drinking
I've said, you know what, I read my labels now and I cut sugar out of my diet. I don't add it to my coffee. I'm not drinking soft drinks anymore. I said, man, if you don't do anything else, you have no idea how much you've just helped yourself right there. You got it.
Yeah.
You can do other things, but if you just did that.
Yes.
What a difference it makes.
I think soft drinks like soda really is probably Latin for liver fat. Yeah. You're drinking liver. You're going to give yourself fatty liver. It is liquid 100%. Sugar. It is, yeah. You're right. It is surprising that, the sales of those things are still up strong. And, the government, like you see a lot, and we could talk about this another time, the whole concept of a soda tax and, anyways, I mean, it's just...
But it's choices you make, right?
100%.
Yeah.
Right?
Choices
so,
you make.
Sugar, big aspect, inflammation.
Yeah. Well, the double-edged sword, really, of heart disease is inflammation. How do you get that?
Yeah.
Right?
Sugar, carbs.
Yeah. From food. Insulin.
Yeah.
Insulin's a growth hormone, right? It causes inflammation in the body. If it's too much, your cells resist it. Now you have to secrete even more just to open up your cells. And that's what damages the blood flow. And then the second part of that, the flip side of that, the same coin, is the free radical damage. Again, what's it caused by? AGE, right? Glycation end products are very, very... But it's sugar. It comes back to sugar. It ages the body's cells at the cellular level, the blood vessel level. And if you want a recipe for a heart attack, you eat a high-carb diet, high-sugary diet, you are headed for disaster. And that's why diabetics have a lot more susceptibility to heart disease, right? Like, think of a diabetic.
And that's what we talked about before. You and I have pretty much said that heart disease is a end symptom of insulin resistance. Mm-hmm. Just like diabetes is an end symptom of insulin resistance. You can
get your blood pressure down. Cut out your carbs.
Yes. High blood pressure is a sign that you're consuming too many carbs.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean...
Liver disease, like you just said. Like, it's amazing.
Kidney disease.
Kidney disease.
All hyperinsulinemia, right? Just too much insulin. All right, well, we've kind of gone a little bit longer than we wanted to. Again, we do thank you for listening to this episode. If you have any further questions or comments, you can email us at info@martinclinic.com. And then also to be sure to check us out. Usually Thursdays or Fridays, we do a Facebook Live where you can ask us questions there. We'd encourage you to like our Facebook page so that you get a notification when we do go live, so you can join us for that. And also, if you are listening to us on iTunes, we'd really appreciate if you would leave us a honest review on iTunes. Again, that helps us out a lot with the distribution of this show. So again, we do thank you for listening, and be sure to tune in again next week. been listening to the Martin Clinic Wellness Podcast, brought to you by martinclinic.com. We are truly thankful that you took the time out of your busy day to listen. Talk soon.